So we don't have our usual opener, so you just have to imagine that there's like a little animation. And here we are in our new studio for now. And I'm very happy to be here. My name is Lio. I'm your host today on Kabbalah Explained Simply. And we have a very special topic today. Let me see if I can show you what it's. Oh, there it is. It's called the next generation. We'll talk about it. We have, again, because of this new setup, you can't see the picture and me in the small corner, so you'll see mostly me, a little bit of slides, but it's going to be mostly us, more intimately. So I hope you guys like that. And if this is your first time, if you're new to Kabbalah and this is the first time you just clicked on the link, you saw a topic that you liked, and you clicked on the link and you're going to hear some things that you're not familiar with, not to worry. This is really just a general sort of introduction. It's explaining certain concepts in Kabbalah, and we're trying to be as round and as general as possible, but this is not instead of an actual introductory course, a fundamentals course, which you can do. It's a self-study. It's amazing. And then there's also live Q&As, so you get to, basically watch it at your own time and then join the live Q&As. And our people on the chat, our good team on the chat, will post the links to those classes. And of course, at the end of this live session, we're gonna hop on Zoom, another tech platform, and they're gonna post a link to that as well. We're gonna continue to take questions, and it's gonna be even more intimate because you're gonna be able to ask directly. You can ask about anything, obviously the topic of today's session, but you can ask about anything, any question relating to Kabbalah or your path, and really anything. It's an opportunity. It's a small setup. We have usually 30, 40, 50 people there, and it's more intimate, and everybody's just there waiting to serve you, to help you out if this is your first time on the path. If you've been here before and you know how it is, then I welcome you. Let me see. I see some of the usual suspects. Patricia, hi Patricia. So good to see you. I see Debbie. I see who's that? Sharon Goldberg. Hi Sharon. Hi. Who else is there? Carl Lawrence from Pittsburgh. I see some names in Russia. Peter Marshall. Julie. All right, a lot of friends, a lot of people, and it's all good. Feel free to post your questions in the chat. I'm getting those separately in the document, so hopefully we'll be able to answer some of those here as well. So our topic for today is the next generation. It's interesting if you think about the next generation. We think about that word generation and the next generation, and immediately it conjures up these pictures of us trying to raise the next group of humans who are going to somehow do better and take over and improve the human condition. And yet we see that it's not always the case. In a way, it feels like every generation is trying to fix the new generation, when in reality we're not so certain that what we're doing is the right thing. So it's very noble that we're trying to fix the next generation, but what if we could actually learn about what we need to do with the next generation by looking at ourselves, looking at how we appear to ourselves when we are suddenly awakened with a point in the heart, with a desire for spirituality. Because I'm revealing everything. I meant to do this. Just ignore what you saw. I was saying, when you first have a desire for spirituality, it comes as if something new is born in you. And it's very interesting. I think you ask anyone, and I've had a chance to ask a lot of students that have gone through KabU and the grad environment, which is where you get to learn about those things in depth and really interact with the Kabbalistic concepts. But what's common to everyone who comes here is that suddenly one day you wake up and you have this nagging feeling inside that something new has to be born. a new desire for something, a new lack, a new pursuit. There's something that is beyond this world, that is maybe above even this world and the current human condition. And it's that feeling that we take, and if we don't ignore it, if we don't try to shut it down, we actually are able to witness something new born in us, a new, what we call in Kabbalah, a new desire. And this new desire is really your next generation. And it's, this is when I say, it's you. This is, the next generation is indeed you. It's not someone out there, even though we are, we live in this world and we have children and they grow and they sort of take over and replace us. Nevertheless, the next generation is truly you. It's something in you that is growing. And one could say, well, you don't even need to wait for a whole lifetime to reincarnate and start something new, but rather every time you have a new desire that awakens in you, that's a new life that is born, a new incarnation. In Kabbalah, when we talk about children or offspring, those concepts, we really talk about things that are born inside a person. The corporeal children that we have, those are the animal level expressions of the development of humanity. And yes, things get carried over from generation to generation, but this is a long path and it involves a great deal of suffering, and there's no need for it. In essence, if you have a desire for spirituality, if you have a desire for something above and beyond this level of this world, then you're said to have had a baby, a new baby born in you, or at least about to be born. And I think it's important that we understand what it means to have that thing, that quality grow in you. How can we grow it? How can we learn from parenting in general? And more importantly, what can we learn from the spiritual concept of parenting and offspring, upper and lower? Because ultimately, if we understand the inner laws of nature, the laws of the spiritual nature, as we call them, it's really the same nature. It's only one nature. But the spiritual aspects are those that are so far have been concealed from us because we lack the vessels to see them and to feel them. But they're active, they're working throughout everything that we're doing. So if we understand how spiritual nature is working, and from that we understand how corporeal nature is working, we'll be able to then perhaps apply some of those lessons onto ourselves as we're trying to grow this new desire in us to give birth eventually to a new set of vessels. So when we talk about doing this work, the question I think is, how do you become a parent to yourself? Because that's what's happening really. There's something in you that you need to grow, and the focus is not on something that's outside of you, which is what we're all used to it. If you have children, you know, there's you, there's all the sets of values that you have accumulated in your life, and all the ideas that have shaped you, and all your beliefs and everything you've learned, and all of that you're trying to then convey and pass to your children. For some reason, I guess it comes from a good place. We're trying to give our children all the good things that we couldn't get, right? But if you think about it, for the most part, the relationship between parents and children are mostly still very much egoistic. It may come as a shock to some of you, but it's true. We raise our children, and we invest in our children because we somehow derive this pleasure from watching them grow, from seeing a part of us get carried over to the next life, as it were, from seeing certain dreams and desires that we've had and never fulfilled maybe come to life and get fulfilled in those children. And we act upon them. We actually put a lot of force on them to try to raise them a certain way. Because, hey, that's what we know. I was raised a certain way, and I'm trying to raise you a certain way, maybe do a better job compared to my parents. But what if the question was not about how do you raise someone else, but rather how do you first start with yourself? How do you become a parent to yourself? And why do we need to become parents to ourselves? If you think about it, there's a story, not a story, a thought exercise that you can do whereby think that you were dinosaurs, and like every generation of dinosaurs, you laid eggs, and from those eggs hatched another dinosaur. Now, what if, a thought exercise, okay? Don't hold me to it. What if one day, instead of a dinosaur, from this egg hatched something like a monkey of sorts, a human, okay? This little human here. This picture is bad representation, but there aren't that many pictures of dinosaur parents with monkey babies, so that's the best I could find. What if this creature was born to these dinosaur parents? Think of the huge gap. Talk about a generational gap between the parents who know of the dinosaur ways and the dinosaur lifestyle and the reptilian mindset and all that comes with it and everything that they've accumulated, and suddenly this new creature that is completely alien to them. Obviously, they're going to try and instill those values in that child, and that's what we're typically doing when a new desire is born in us. We try to mold it, shape it into the familiar templates that we are born with and that we were raised on. But what if this was not the case? What if, in fact, that new generation of children, and in our case, this new desire in you, is the one that is capable of showing you the way? My teacher, Dr. Lightman, said that once, that I couldn't find the exact quote, but he said something to the effect of, if we actually let children lead the way and not try to confine them and mold them to our ways, if we really understood what it means to grow them to be all that they can be, truly, we would be conquering the space and stars already. He made that analysis, and it really stayed with me. It really stuck with me because it's true that so many things that we do are really just trying to break this this next generation and mold them in a way that makes sense to us, that we know. And it's a natural inclination. And in the animal kingdom, maybe it ensures the survival of the species. But we're at a point where our species is already established its survival, its dominance in nature. In fact, we're now over the hump. Some might say that we're already at a place where we're already becoming detrimental to our own survival. Why is it? Shouldn't every generation be better than us? Well, according to Kabbalah, the process of deterioration started with the shattering of the vessels. There's a concept in Kabbalah, it's called the shattering of the vessels. I'm going to show you something I can't unfortunately draw here, so I prepared a few drawings in advance, but you have to use your imagination a little bit. So let's try that, see how it works. So imagine that this is, I think you can see my arrow. So in Kabbalah, we talk about the system of worlds. Okay, worlds are simply another way of saying a place for desires to grow. Okay, you're thinking automatically of our world, the corporeal world, the material world, with all our universe and the stars and planets and everything, all the forces working in it. So take a step back and think of a spiritual world, a world of desires, made of different degrees of desires, where the outermost desire, called Adam Kadmon, is the original primordial desire that was created, and then it was further sectioned, organized into smaller and smaller desires, which we call Atzilut. This is the A, Bria, Yetzira, Asiya. These are simply degrees of desire. And inside these degrees, inside this place that was created, we have a system called Adam. Now, some of you may automatically go to it's Adam from the Bible, Adam and Eve, somehow, I imagine that. Well, don't imagine that. Put that picture away for a second and think of Adam as a desire. Okay, it's a system of desires, if you will. And it was created in order for the Creator to complete the purpose of creation. In Kabbalah, the whole purpose of creation was to reveal the Creator to the created beings. That's why the Creator, this omnipotent, omnipresent, benevolent force that existed, bothered creating something. It didn't have to create anything, you could argue, and some argue that, but it really was overflowing with the desire to give all the good and abundance to something. So what can you create that can receive everything you have to give? You can create something that can receive it, right? A deficiency, a lack, a desire to receive pleasure and fulfillment. That's what was created, and we talk about it in a process called, it happened in a process called 4 phases of direct light. I'm not going to draw it, I don't have the instrument, but you can, there are Kabbalah Explained Simply on it, and there are plenty of resources on it, and this is one of the things that you will study in the fundamentals if you sign up for them. But Kabbalah explains basically that everything was created from that initial thought of creation. Hey, I'd like to bestow all this goodness that I feel. I'm just a force for good. I'd like to give it to something. In order for me to give it to something, I have to create something which is completely diametrically opposite to me. An emptiness, a desire to receive. And that's what was created. And at the end of that process, we end up with a vessel called Malchut. It's translated to kingdom or kingship, but Malchut is probably a better word because then it wouldn't confuse you with these visual pictures. Malchut. Malchut is where everything is happening. It's that kli, it's that vessel. Okay, I'm making that shape. This is where everything is happening. And this Malchut further and further divides itself, organizes itself in a way whereby it can be in contact with the Creator, because the Creator wants to bestow all the good to Malchut. It wants to reveal itself and its goodness to Malchut. But Malchut cannot receive it right away. It cannot receive it in a direct way, because it makes Malchut feel something very strange. It makes it feel that it's opposite to that quality. It's exactly opposite. In the beginning, it didn't feel it, right? It was just the light, as we call the feeling of fulfillment. Kabbalists call it light, okay, like a light. So it had this sensation of being full, being filled with something. That's great. It could stay in this state forever. But no, it did not stay in that state. It decided to act on a certain feeling that awakened in it. At the end of that feeling of fulfillment, there began to be a feeling of, wait a second, where's that light coming from? I'd like to maybe be more like that light, more that quality that is giving. I'm only receiving. I want to be a little bit more like that. So maybe I won't receive. Maybe I'll just give. That's the second awakening that happened in that soon to be a desire, soon to be a vessel. So from the root, from the initial thought of creation, there was a vessel, an emptiness, a desire that was created and immediately filled by the light. Then that desire turned around and said, I don't want to receive this light. I want to reject it. I don't want to receive it. I want to be like you. We call that Bina. The first one we call Chokhmah. The second one we call Bina. Don't get stuck on the Hebrew names. And after that quality of I want to be like you, there arose in it another quality, a feeling of, wait a second, but you want to give me. I need to receive something from you. I can't just not receive. I can't hold myself against all that goodness that you want to give. So I'll receive a little bit and then give back to you. Receive it because I want to be in contact with you. Okay, that's that evolution of desires. We call that the 4 phases of direct light. This third level, Zir Anpin, small expression, if you will, a small face, that was the closest that a future creature, created being, if you will, would be to being in contact with the Creator. But after doing this action of receiving a little bit in order to give back more, to bestow, all that goodness, that quality, that vessel could not resist all that goodness, could not resist the the stature of the Creator that was felt in it, and it just wanted to receive everything. Give me the fulfillment, give me your status as creator of everything. I want to feel it all, I want to take it all, I want to enjoy it all. I want to decide for myself that I want to take it all. That was the beginning of everything that was created. And it's in that moment that this quality of Malchut was born, and immediately it felt that it's in opposition to the Creator. And then it started a process of creating some equivalence with that force called the Creator. This is the beginning of creation. Kabbalists talk about, you can find entire books on it. But to our purpose, after Malchut got into some sort of a relationship with the Creator, an ability to receive some light in order to bestow it back to the Creator. I'll receive some good from you because I want to be doing good to you. I want to be like you. And you want to give good, and I want to give good, so we'll do this exchange. I want to receive, unless I'm able to return that favor to you. That created some sort of equivalence, some balance in the system. And it was in that system that a certain process started to unfold whereby Malchut was able to receive less and less and less light each time in order to bestow to the Creator. The result of this process was eventually a shattering. We talk about it in Kabbalah as well. It was a shattering of this original vessel that was created. What was shattered? The perception of oneness, the ability to interact with the Creator, to receive in order to bestow. Malchut was not able to do that anymore. And a new process began by which additional worlds were created that allowed for greater and greater, more qualitatively refined form of connection with the Creator. And it's inside this system that a new desire was born, and that's the desire of Adam. That's the root of that, what you read about in the biblical story. It's not a man and a woman in some garden, heavenly garden on earth. That's not what it's about. It's a desire. This is before even the existence of our material world and our universe and everything. This is all happening on the level of desire, potential. This system of Adam was supposed to be the one that would get all the good, would be able to interact with a Creator. This desire had a second desire created next to it called, you guessed it, Eve. But Eve was simply the deficiency that Adam had. Okay, Eve symbolized all the lack, and Adam symbolized the ability to overcome that lack and only receive if we're able to be in contact with the Creator. That was the corrected system, and it's that system that underwent additional shattering, and there are, again, entire books written about it. But where am I trying to get to? It's that relationship between Adam and Eve, between a desire to receive, Eve, the feminine part, and a desire to bestow, or an ability to overcome. That was the Adam in that system, and these two together form the complete man, if you will. Okay, now this may be a lot to take in, but I'm merely trying to paint a picture whereby nothing that's happening in this world is coincidental. There's a reason why we, on the level of this world, have to bring two halves of something in order to make one whole, in order to beget another offspring on the corporeal level, like animals. Everything on that level, from that level on, was confined to this limitation of two halves feeling incomplete, needing each other to create a new desire. But the good news is that this, alongside this process of shattering, there were entire systems set in place that would help these desires then climb back to the source, back into the correct contact with the Creator, with that quality of bestowal. And oh, I see. Hold on. Let me fix that a little bit. Wait a second. You should be seeing it now. Okay, good. So after the worlds were shattered and the new system of the worlds emerged, an entire new system that contained this duality appeared, and it's this duality that lives here, and we can see that you have here in the system two qualities called Abba, or father in Hebrew, and Ima, or mother. And again, don't imagine anything religious or biological. First of all, those are qualities in the spiritual world. One symbolizes Chokhmah, one symbolizes Binah. One is the quality of receiving all the abundance, and one is the quality of rejecting all of that. Chasadim, it's these two qualities that interact that give birth to Zer Anpin, which again symbolizes the sun in our material world, and Malchut symbolizes the moon in our material world. Those are all simply expressions of the spiritual system that gave birth to all of this. And all of that created the conditions for the appearance of us, humans, in the system, in the material world, in the material universe, after 14 billion years of evolution through the still, vegetative, animate, and finally speaking degrees, where a human can rise and start this process of again resembling the quality of the Creator, becoming similar. Adam, from the word domeh, similar to the Creator. And that quality is there from the beginning of everything, from the beginning of the process of creation. It's there, it's built into the process of material evolution, the appearance of the universe, and then the stars and the planets, and then this one planet where there could be the right conditions for the appearance of life, and vegetative life, and then animate life, and finally us, and finally you. And all of that in order for you to have this desire be born inside of you that is asking, what's happening? What is the meaning of all of this? How can I get back into contact with this quality that I feel is missing within me? Something in me feels incomplete. Something that we as humans are chasing constantly through various fulfillments, food, sex, family, money, honor, power, knowledge, all those things, and all the different variants of all these basic desires. They're all simply a desperate attempt to fulfill that lack. Lack for what? For that initial connection with the Creator, the quality that created all of this. And so when that quality is born in you, it's not simply a curiosity. It's not simply a fad, the beginning of a new hobby or something. No, it's a calling from the root of your very soul. I want to watch a video. I hope it'll work. And then after that, maybe we can take some questions. If not, we'll continue. We'll talk about how we're going to grow this desire, which was born out of the spiritual dimensions first, and then is now experienced here in this material world as a desire for reconnecting with that spiritual quality. So let's watch a clip on that, and then we'll be back.
About the commentary that the sages gave to the different verses where they say, "So said Abraham unto Isaac." And the question is, how could they know that, what one said to the other? Because those that have achieved the degree on which Abraham or anyone else stood, and so they know and see the same as Abraham knew and saw. Thus they knew what Abraham said because they also attained that degree. It's spirituality. We're not talking about people. We're talking about the kelim, the vessels. This is how they're named, how they're called according to their name. Now you'll ask, is there also a kli there called kisos or not? What? You're not sure. Why aren't you sure? Your soul has a root. Your soul has a root, so you're there. For sure that it does. For sure. Only not according to your current name. When you reach that state and you correct it, then you get that name. You have to discover the root of the soul. That's how it's called. And then you perceive it, and that's the main thing. And from that point which you perceive, you're included in the whole entire kli of infinity. And then it means that you have discovered the soul of Adam Arishon, and it's yours. It's yours from within your point. You can't change your name. What is a name? The name with the lights inside it is called your name. Thus, each and every soul has to reach the root of its soul. And each one has a root of his own. He has a point, he has to reach it. He has to correct himself there, and from there to correct his connection to all the rest of the souls. That's actually his correction.
2 minutes backwards, I said that this is finally the point that we're at, where if this desire has awakened in you, if this desire is about to be born in you, it's an opportunity for you to actually find your place, the root of your soul, your place in creation. You can actually do this. You can make this correction while alive in this world, in this lifetime. You don't have to wait for this desire to awaken again and again in another lifetime and yet another lifetime through pain and suffering and torments. There's no need. But it's something that you have to do. No one's going to do it for you. No one can do it for you because it's a desire. It's your will. No one can do it for you. You can't develop your will involuntarily. You can't develop your consciousness unconsciously. It just simply doesn't work. You have to be involved every step of the way, and you're going to be doing it against all manners of distractions and distraction and destruction and attempts to deviate you from that path. Society that we live in is a place where the will to receive thrives. This is where human ego is at its best. While it's also feeling a great deal of pain, it doesn't matter. The promise of some spark of fulfillment is enough to drive this ego again and again in this endless pursuit of pleasure. As fleeting as it may be, even though you know it's temporary, it doesn't matter. That will to receive is going to make you chase that pleasure again and again. It's going to make you forget about that desire that is developing inside of you. Imagine that you have a baby. I imagine probably women who can have babies, who have the ability to give birth and to conceive, may resonate with that more than those of us who can't do it. But still, think about it. Try to picture that, to have that picture, that image in your head. You have a baby inside of you, and it only grows if you think about it, if you give it your attention. And it's not like a biological baby where you can't ignore it. It's there, it's moving, things change in your body, hormones, this. Nature is working through you, whether you like it or not, almost. Of course, you're participating in the process, but nature is kind of doing a lot of the work. Here in spirituality, you have to do all the work. If you want to give birth to a new generation, to a new kind of desire in you, a desire that's corrected, that's able to be in contact with the Creator, you have to nourish it, you have to carry it, you have to think about it, you have to connect it with other desires. That's how the process works. So it's not a simple process, and this is something that we have to learn how to do. And it starts with us. It's not about your children, if you have children. Your children they're individual, independent souls. Yes, you're their caretaker, but they're not your spiritual future. They're simply a corporeal future. They're not your spiritual future. Your spiritual future lies in you. The next generation that we're all looking to see rise and take over is in us, in each one of us. And in fact, the sooner we start to care for that next generation, the better even the corporeal next generation will feel in this world. So what do we have to do? Well, luckily we have Kabbalists, and they teach us about the qualities that we have to bring into this. And Baal Sulam makes this distinction between schooling and upbringing. Now, it's not a perfect translation, but in Hebrew, schooling means haskala. Okay, it's simply the process of accumulating knowledge, transferring knowledge, information, rules for life, life hacks, you name it, right? Any of those things, that's what schooling is. Okay, and maybe there'll be a time where you can get a lot of schooling done through little microchips in your head and other methods by which you can get a lot of information accumulated inside of you. But that is equivalent to loading a camel with books. It's not going to really get smarter or get uplifted from his animal degree. What we're talking about is upbringing, or as Baal Salam calls it, chinuch. This is a whole other methodology. It's a completely different thing. Schooling, as I said, deals with knowledge, with information, with rules, with patterns that we have to conform to, with expectations, whereas upbringing has to do with finding that quality inside of us that we need to grow, feeling its deficiency, and then raising it according to the type of deficiency it displays. In Kabbalah, we call it teach a boy according to his ways. Okay, chanoch lanar lefi darko in Hebrew. And what it means is that we need to become sensitive to the particular style of desire that this quality is displaying inside of us. What does it want? What does it need? Well, it needs a certain environment in order to grow and develop. It needs certain nourishment. What is that nourishment? Can you conform that desire to the same conditions that whereby your egoistic desires are thriving? The answer is no, you cannot. Because if you try to do it, it will very quickly be crushed. Because this desire is totally opposite to your current set of desires. With your current set of desires, you're simply searching for fulfillment, for pleasure. The bigger the pleasure, the bigger the desire has to be, and along the way to fulfilling that desire, you're willing to take advantage of any and all opportunities. And as long as your interests meet with other desires, you'll coexist peacefully. When your interests stop meeting, well, then you may have to just get rid of the other desires. This is happening all the time in the world. We see it from individual interactions all the way to how entire nations interact with one another. This is simply the result of this growing egoistic desire. The desire that's growing inside of you is a desire for bestowal. It's a new desire. It's a spiritual desire. It's similar in nature to the Creator, who is all bestowing, all giving. If you want to grow that, you need to find an environment where bestowing could be expressed, could be practiced. That's one thing. The other thing is that in our world, if you want to take a desire and shape it and mold it, you use force. We see it all the time. We as adults use that force on children all the time. I have a child, and it's very easy for me to resort to force, not necessarily violence, but it could be force, just the force of my voice and my words and my actions and my and the way I relate to him. I could just force my way through him, and we do it all the time. We don't even notice. It's so it feels so natural to us that we're the parents, we're calling the shots, and you listen and you do it. That's how we relate to our children. That's how we relate to usually to those desires that awaken in us. I'll tell you what needs to happen. I know. How do you know? You're an egoist. You're selfish. You look for pleasure at the expense of everything and everyone. And here you have this new desire, which is a desire to bestow, to care for the other before you think of yourself. You can't even relate to that desire. It's you can't even imagine what it's like to live inside that desire. That's how different it is. So we do not exert force. In fact, we gather in an environment, in groups, in small groups in Kabbalah, where we're able to then interact and inspire each other, lead by example, teach by example. This is the main difference between growing this kind of desire, raising this kind of desires, and all the other desires. And it's something that's easier said than done. We need the support of the environment in order to be able to actually live up to that desire and to give it what it needs. And as you go through this process, it's not enough to simply be a passive observer. I can't be, well, here's my desire. I came to the study of Kabbalah. Here it is. Grow it, make it something, give it back to me when it's ready. No, you have to participate. You have to be active, an active participant. You have to be playful. You have to be willing to try things, to get your hands dirty. That's not the same as being that parent that just stands on the sideline and is looking through his phone when his child is doing something on the monkey bars or in the sandbox. And just notice that we're doing, it's the same attitude that we apply today to children in many cases, that we apply to our spiritual desire. It's the same, those are the same iniquities that we are guilty of when we're dealing with the next generation corporeally, and this new desire that is born in me. If I want to see it grow and evolve, I have to give it everything. I have to be there to serve it rather than expect it to serve me. It's not going to grow up and someday return the favor that I gave it. Oh, I gave you food and money and shelter and all that. Where are my dividends, right? Where's my return on investment? No, this doesn't work this way. This is an egoistic way of looking at children corporeally and looking at your spiritual desire spiritually. You have to completely put yourself aside. Take yourself outside of the equation. Focus on growing that. Rav Kook, who was the chief rabbi of Israel, he was a contemporary of Baal Sulam. They were very close, although sort of at odds, because Baal Sulam was a Kabbalist, and he was practicing Kabbalah, teaching Kabbalah externally. I mean, everybody knew that he was a Kabbalist and sort of resented him, did not understand him. Whereas Rav Kook was the chief rabbi of Israel. He had to be a reconciling force. He had to be accessible to people, speak to them on at eye level, show externally that he's like everyone else. He's like a religious Jew of the time. He was going to synagogue, he was doing his things, and but when asked, when you look through his writing, you find this great line that says, "If I could, I would study Kabbalah with 6-year-olds." Why? Because it's that quality of a 6-year-old that you need to adopt when you begin to study Kabbalah. If you really want to discover spirituality, you cannot come with your traditional notebook, little calculator, how much I put in, how much I received, where is my return on investment, where is my surplus. Well, these are all egoistic manifestations of your desire. And it's natural. No one is judging you for approaching it this way. Just understand that if you want to see a new generation being developed and then born in you, you really do have to apply a whole new attitude to them. If you want to be in touch with the spiritual world, you need to start behaving like the spiritual world, according to the laws of the spiritual world. It says, make his desire your desire. As he is merciful, you be merciful. Love your friend as yourself. All these concepts, all these precepts, they're not talking about morals or ethics. They're talking about a way to penetrate through this egoistic shell that is shaping our world. It's a perceptual issue, and the only way to break through it is by taking this desire that is trying to be born in us and giving our all to it. That's what I had to say about the next generation. I wonder if you have questions. We have a few minutes left for this session. I know it was an unusual session. It was unusual for me too. Also, conditions were not favorable, but I hope that you got a little something. If you have any questions, let me know. Put them in the chat, and the team here, the fine team here, will get them to me here on this little document. In the meantime, I will wait for a few questions. I'll tell you about an amazing event that's coming up, and it's called the 3-Day Leap. Again, because of the poor conditions here, I can't even show you a slide, but I know our dedicated team will put a link to the retreat website on our... Oh, actually, you know what? Hold on, I'm sorry. I can actually do something here. Hold on. Let's see. All right. Boom. The North America Annual Kabu Retreat 2023, the 3-Day Leap. It is coming up, friends, September 8th through 10. And I realize that if you're totally new to Kabbalah, maybe you're thinking, I don't know how it's going to be. I wouldn't worry about it. It's going to be gentle yet all immersive. You'll be able to interact with the material, with other students. You'll see who studies Kabbalah besides you, who else has these desires in you that's not letting you sleep at night. You'll be able to meet them, meet those other students, meet the instructors. The event is happening September 8th through 10 in upstate New York. I'm going to be there. A bunch of other Kabbalah instructors from Israel are coming, and also from Tony from Toronto and Mike from St. Louis. A lot of people are going to be there, and you can find all the information here on the website, including the schedule and what's going to happen. It's going to be a hybrid event with friends connecting on Zoom as well as people connecting physically. And I don't know what else to say besides the fact that this is already the 5th or 6th year in a row that we're doing this, and we just had one in Holland, which was memorable and phenomenal. And especially if you're listening to this and you are not a newcomer and you're already in Kabu, you're already in the grad environment, you really have to be there. If you're on the continent, I would make every effort to make it. It's also extremely affordable for 3 days, and it's a wonderful way to meet the people that are also studying, and to meet the instructors, and to really get a taste of it. Like, even though we're all studying here virtually and it's great, there's just no replacement for this environment where you have all the right influences, really like a womb where you get to grow, develop, maybe even be born. I have, let's see, I have one question here. We have a couple of minutes left. Someone is asking, Ran, how to find the like-minded people in the conservative Midwest small town? Well, as I just mentioned, one of our lead instructors is Mike Kellogg. He's from a conservative small town. I think he was He wasn't a preacher, but he was even working for the local with a local church. So it don't get any more conservative than that. And he found the wisdom back when they were being given lessons on Yahoo Messenger or something. Which proves that when you have the desire, you'll find the right conditions. Today, luckily, it doesn't have to be this difficult. You have this environment. Besides these weekly Kabbalah Explained specials, you have an entire environment online dedicated for that. You go there, you have self-study courses driven by video and Q&As and a forum and with instructors answering questions, and then you have live sessions. And then when you're done with that, you can come to the grad environment, as it's called, for a more intensive care, as it were, where you get to sample, I think, 3 or 4 or 5 different types of classes a week in the young group, which is really the cherry on top, where you really get to work with the writings of Kabbalists on how to interact, how to connect with other desires, because that's where it's at. We barely touched on it, but that's really where it's at. So I say take that leap. First of all, start those fundamental classes, and then if you can, come to the retreat. If not, I hope you can make it to the grad environment. And I see that there are no more questions, which I don't know if it's a reason for concern or that you guys are all full and happy, thinking how you can be 6-year-olds again. That's fine too. I will see you next at the retreat, which is happening in 2 weeks in New York, and I hope to see all of you there, or most of you there. And the next time I'll see you will be after I get back. A few weeks after that, we'll have another great session together. So thank you for being here, and please join us on the live Zoom. And I'm sorry, not live, the Zoom session. It's not live, it's not going to be broadcast, but you can come there and ask questions, interact more intimately. It's just going to be us. No one else is going to be watching. So by all means, I'm waiting for all of you there, and I'll see you next time. And because we don't have a closing little animation, I'll just do this, and we'll close the Zoom, so the broadcast. So have a great time. See you next time, and we're out.